Comcast Business built the nation's largest gig speed network, then went beyond. Beyond the reliability you expect, to knowing that if the power goes out, business goes on. Comcast Business, beyond fast.
Welcome to ESPN's coverage of US soccer, brought to you by Volkswagen. We're in Houston and the US men's soccer team have liftoff in a new era. Greg Berhalter can be the first coach to win his first 4 games in charge. But tonight's mission is his toughest yet, against Copa America champions, Chile. Good evening to you tonight and welcome to Houston. Could be a tasty treat, this one, because the US have probably their hardest game yet under the new coach, Taylor.
Absolutely, and of the first 4 games that Greg Berhalter and his staff have gone up against, this is easily the most difficult test. And with all due respect to Ecuador Thursday night, that's more of what you're going to see in CONCACAF. But Chile tonight is what you're going to see at Copa America, at the World Cup. This is a better, bigger test for the players and also Greg Berhalter in assessing whether or not that system and style is going to work at this level.
So let's see who the coach has selected tonight. There are 7 changes from the Ecuador game. Ethan Horvath, the goalkeeper from Bruges, wins his first cap under the new coach anyway. Deandre Yedlin captaining the team for the first time, and Omar Gonzalez, this is interesting, back in the team for the first time since his own goal howler that fateful night against Trinidad and Tobago.
And what's that relationship with he and Miazga? This is the first time they've played together. Yedlin, Ream, they'll provide the width. Michael Bradley sitting in front of that back 4, but Roldan Pulisic, them interchanging, providing that support underneath Zardes. Ariola and Corey Baird, they need to get in behind a little bit more than what we saw against Ecuador. But a lot of this talk with Greg Berhalter and the staff is, where do you play Christian Pulisic? What is his strongest suit? And some would say, you know what, it is at number 10, but most people would say he made his name in a wide area. We sat down with Christian Pulisic in November before the England friendly. He said, I want to play as a number 10. But what he didn't say is whether he wants to play solo or next to Weston McKennie as he did Thursday night, or Christian Roldan as he will tonight. I just think Christian Pulisic is uncomfortable in central areas with a bunch of defenders around him. Look for him to find that space, and I think with a high-pressing Chile today, he's going to have more of a game that we've seen, but he hasn't scored in his last 4 games. Little pressure on Pulisic tonight.
So that's the scene in Houston, but it's not only about the US. What about Chile? They've won the last 2 Copa Americas, but their coach, Reinaldo Rueda, is under heavy pressure, could even be fired if this goes wrong. That's the word from the Chilean journalist. 6 of this team, including big star Arturo Vidal of Barcelona, started the 2016 Copa America final.
And a team that's going to get after it. At times, you're going to see this turn into a 5-back, maybe even with Medel playing between the 2 center backs, but Aranguiz, Vidal, Pavez sliding in next to Medel. It's all about that high pressure, but Vidal's engine coming out of the midfield. That's a key test for Michael Bradley in the United States tonight.
Yeah, it's a tough test, all right, because Chile do have talent despite some patchy results just lately. So it's all nicely set up here in Houston for the action, and that comes up right after this break.
Comcast Business built the nation's largest gig speed network, then went beyond. Beyond clumsy dial-ins and pins to one-touch conference calls. Gig-fueled apps that exceed expectations. Comcast Business, beyond fast.
Hi!
Hi, Grandpa.
Once upon a time, there was a family of 3 pigs.
Oink!
Who here knows the 3 wolf rules?
I do.
First, we huff, then we puff, then we blow the house down. Ow!
Welcome back to Houston. Ian Dark and Taylor Twellman with you, with Sebastian Salazar reporting from the field. The USA playing Chile, a fascinating 4th game for new coach Greg Berhalter, and he couldn't have started any better really. 3 games so far, all won and none conceded. A 3-0 win over Panama was followed by a 2-goal win against Costa Rica. He's got a vision of the way he wants it to go, and then Jassi Zardes with the late winner to beat Ecuador. That's 6 goals scored and none conceded. But now it's the Copa America champions, Chile. What next?
Well, and Ian, Greg Berhalter knew when taking over that there was going to be urgency into assessing players, and that leads us to our Volkswagen coach's notes. It's been a little surprising to me at how many different players Greg Berhalter's used, but he's had to. He's only got 4 games until Gold Cup comes this summer. But the key note here, 22 different starters. So while he's using a ton of players, he's also using those players from the opening whistle to give them a full opportunity to showcase their abilities. But I'm going to go to Sebastian Salazar now because it is an apples to oranges discussion when you talk about Greg Berhalter assessing the United States players and what's going on in the Chilean camp. Sebastian?
Yeah, let me take you guys to yesterday's press conference. The Chilean media that traveled has the pitchforks out after the defeat against Mexico. Basically, the 30 minutes they spent questioning Reinaldo Rueda, he had to defend why he was still in charge of the national team. And at one point, he made a shocking admission, almost admitting that he wasn't sure if the president of the Chilean Federation had indeed made a mistake in hiring him. Remarkable stuff. Now, why are the Chilean fans and the media so upset? Yes, it's the results, 11 games, just 4 wins, but it goes beyond that. He's really marginalized some key Copa America heroes. Edu Vargas, Marcelo Diaz, Rueda out has been trending on Chilean Twitter. That's how bad it is. In fact, how advanced is it? Multiple Chilean outlets today reporting there are at least 2 names being batted around the Chilean Federation for possible replacements should it go particularly bad for Chile tonight. One of them is Rafael Dudamel of Venezuela. I know our guy Alejandro Moreno's not going to like that one.
And all of that makes things very, very interesting here because Chile need a performance, and that might make this even tougher for the US. The confidence is high, and maybe the post-World Cup doldrums are just being blown away a little as Yassi Zardes gets on the ball straight away. Chile, the team in red here tonight. They've just changed things a little bit from their lineup the other night when they were beaten 3-1 by Mexico. They let in 3 in 14 minutes at one stage in that game, which is why the coach is under increasing pressure. And they've looked for a ball straight in behind there, and there was a gap in behind Tim Ream. Mauricio Isla was the player looking to break onto it. Here's Pulisic's first involvement in the game. Only the second time that the US have ever played in this stadium, the home of the Houston Dynamo.
2 things I want to watch from the United States perspective, especially in the first 20 to 25 minutes. What kind of position is DeAndre Yedlin in? Is he going to play as a natural right back? And does that tell us what kind of system Greg Berhalter looks at with Yedlin in there and against certain type of opponents? But then it's also Christian Pulisic and Christian Roldan. Can Christian Roldan receive the ball with his back to goal, tight spaces? We saw Weston McKennie, Ian, you and I, early on have a couple sloppy touches. What is that relationship with Christian Roldan and Christian Pulisic in the middle?
See how that chemistry develops. A Roldan right on cue for you, Taylor. Intercepts. It's a really good piece of play by him, and then even better again, Yedlin wearing that captain's armband for the first time with the cross in. Proud night for him. We remember him as just a kid coming in to the team around the time of the 2014 World Cup. He's a 25-year-old veteran now. Again, looking for the cute through ball. US at times were slick, especially early on against Ecuador. There's Vidal showing a little hint of his class, the Barcelona man who will soon be facing Manchester United in the Champions League. Omar Gonzalez, who says he's a completely different player now to the one who last played for the US 17 months ago, the night of the own goal, the night when the US went out against Trinidad and Tobago, and Taylor got in quite a bad mood, I remember, on the TV.
That's not the first time you've seen my bad mood.
First on air, though.
But it is interesting, I think, that Greg Berhalter, former teammate of his, former coach of his, is now the guy that brings back Omar Gonzalez. He has a lot to gain tonight because if he plays well against this type of competition, he plays himself into the conversation again.
Because he played alongside him at Galaxy. He kind of felt that the work that Gonzalez had put in, his old teammate, deserved another opportunity, which has to be taken now, of course. Matt Miazga playing alongside him, first time those two have played together, as Taylor was telling you earlier. Zardes with a good ball. Pulisic, he's onside here. He can finish, and he does finish. It's Pulisic for the USA. What a start. That's the first time he's scored for the new coach, Berhalter. How about that?
Make no mistake about it that Christian Pulisic, when the game's wide open and he's got space, he thrives in that. But how's that for a first touch from Giazzi Zardes? For 25, 30 minutes yesterday in training, it was all about, can you play the ball into the feet of Giazzi Zardes? One touch, turn, no pressure on him whatsoever. And that's the Christian Pulisic that the United States national team fans fallen in love with at Dortmund. But all of that is Giazzi Zardes with a great first touch and a layoff to open up the space for the kid getting in behind.
Textbook goal that from the US, and Christian Pulisic becomes the youngest ever US international to get to double figures, 10 goals. Beating Jose Altidore. Not the quickest in terms of caps, mind you. That was Clint Mathis who did it in 23 caps. Pulisic's winning his 25th tonight. Lovely finish from the Borussia Dortmund man, the $75 million man who's on his way to Chelsea in the summer. Isla turning it round. Bradley to intercept. Valdez's through ball. Opazo looking to keep it in. Not quite. Nothing going right for Chile at the moment on their travels, all for their coach. Look at this from Zardes.
But it's also about Christian Pulisic taking a chance here. And when you have that freedom underneath, Greg Berhalter said it, that Pulisic of all of his players has freedom to come wide, has freedom to play as a second forward. And he knows if Zardes or whoever his number 9 is can play well with his back to goal, the 3 or 4 runners in and around him, they've got the pace to open up the game.
It's Pulisic again. To Bradley. Remember, Tyler Adams has gone back to his club Leipzig, who are chasing a Champions League place, and that I think was just a little bit of cordial relations between the US coach and the Leipzig coach to let him go back a little early. And of course, you know about Weston McKennie's bad ankle injury. I wonder if he's going to play again this season, frankly. We do have 4 men out there, Chile, with over 100 caps. Whether this team's just getting a little old and grizzled is a part of the debate about them. They've had such a good time winning the last 2 Copa Americas for the first time in their long history. Pavez has been brought into the team tonight, finding a nice ball here for Arturo Vidal. Isla on the overlap. Vidal again trying his luck. Off balance when he hit it.
What a difficult test tonight for the United States, because that man right there just has such an engine. Ian, you and I saw it against Mexico the other night, but it's also where he picks up positions. It's going to be off the shoulders of Michael Bradley. So Michael Bradley at times is going to need the support of either Christian Roldan. Here it's Paul Arriola. On the other side, it could be Corey Baird. They need the support in and around, because Vidal picks up that space where then Michael Bradley's looking over shoulder the entire game.
You can see the high press from Chile going on. Very different from Ecuador, who played at times like the US's half of the pitch was booby-trapped the other night. Esteban Pavez sitting deepest in that midfield, and he was feeding the talented Aranguiz. Good player. I remember him scoring at the Maracanã when Chile ended Spain's reign as world champions. Absolutely no question. This US squad have worked very, very hard assimilating new ideas and trying to put them into practice under the new coach. But Chile beginning to bite back a little. Oh, that's found its way through to Isla, and he couldn't quite pick up Valdez, but the US were nearly undone. This is a good response from Chile. Here's Aranguiz. Maripan. And then Pavez picked a good ball to Vidal. Still could be something here. The shot was blocked by Aranguiz, and then there's an equalizer from Opazo. He took a deflection on the way, and Chile bite back. 2 goals in the first 9 minutes of the game.
Cause for concern for Omar Gonzalez and his back line in the United States, because Chile early in this game have been able to play between the lines. I feel like the midfield's been stretched out, and we've seen Paul Arriola get stretched back and try to defend, but then Michael Bradley's having to deal with 2 or 3 players in and around him. I think Roldan and even at times Arriola maybe can pinch in and make it difficult to play between the lines. But look at this ball right here. That's the last thing you want if you're the United States, because that one ball bypasses 5 or 6 defenders. They don't defend well. Ball ends up in the back of the net off a deflection from Opazo.
His first ever goal for his country, Oscar Opazo, who plays for Colo Colo, the famous Chilean club. He won't care about the deflection. Neither will Chile. He needed that, and that's just a little warning for the US that they're not going to have things their own way. And you see in evidence here that there's attacking ambition about Chile here. Tim Ream. Might be goals in this game. There already have been. Arriola getting the cross in. This has got an open, effervescent feel about it, this. It's a bad ball out the defence. Yedlin from a long way out, trying to get his first ever goal for his country. Hasn't happened yet in 58 previous caps.
Well, we knew coming into this one it would be a completely different test, because Ecuador defended at times even with 6 on that back line. But Ian, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but this is the kind of test where you want to assess where the American player is, where the American coach is, where the American style of play is, because this is what you're going to face when you're in a World Cup, when you're in Copa America at the highest level. This is the kind of game you're going to get. The Belgiums, Germanys, Colombias of the world are not going to sit in and defend you the way Ecuador did. This is a true test tonight.
Yeah, they're going to have attacking ambitions
Absolutely.
of their own. So the idea that the US can always play on the front foot, that will be, well, have to be adapted a little. I'm sure the coach knows all about that. But right with you there, Taylor. This could be instructive, this. Zardes plays another good ball, links well with Pulisic. Look at this run here by Pulisic. He's in if he can get there. The goalkeeper Arias did a really good job, but that was electric from Christian Pulisic. What a turn at speed. He really had the afterburners on here.
But it was also the combo again off of Zardes. Zardes, a sharp game with his first 2 early touches to lay off, but it was that touch right there that got out ahead of Pulisic. But so much of this is coming off of Zardes' first and second touches. Big question mark about Zardes at the highest level tonight. He's up for it so far.
Yeah, dropping deep, nice little layoffs, and that's the general idea, that Roldan and Pulisic will break past him on occasions. Exactly what happened with the goal.
Yeah, but those are the most difficult runs, right? It's 2 center backs dealing with the center forward dropping in. It's the runs coming out of the midfield. They're a nightmare to defend.
Here's Michael Bradley. This time Houston is able to cut it out, but the US look as if they maybe had to create things every time they come forward, but maybe Chile will too here. Castillo trying to hold it up. He's the man who got the goal the other night against Mexico. Wasn't enough. Zardes laying it off again. The Columbus crewman, well known, of course, to Greg Berhalter, the coach from his 5 years with the club. You'll see the US tonight trying to play on a broad canvas, trying to stretch Chile, make the field big, keep them moving, and this time it is offside. Corey Baird looking to break behind the wide player who's winning only his 3rd cap, the Real Salt Lake man.
Corey Baird just a hair too early, but it's the movement again from Roldan and Corey Baird, and then on this near side on your television screen, it's Pulisic and Arriola. My only concern is defensively. I think Pulisic and Roldan, while they're spread out, either Corey Baird or Areola need to be a little bit tighter and force Chile in wide areas and do not allow that ball to split them, and then for that player, either Vidal or Aranguiz, to square up and take Michael Bradley one-on-one.
Pavez.
See, this is a better spot here. Look at where Christian Roldan is. Christian Roldan's a little closer to Michael Bradley, so now it forces Chile to come this way. That's better shape defensively as opposed to what we saw in the first 6-7 minutes.
Pavez. The well-traveled Mauricio Isla to lay it inside. Some of these players seem to have been around forever in the Chile side. Been some exciting teams to watch as well under Marcelo Bielsa. Remember when he was in charge, and later Jorge Sampaoli. Isla again. Gabby Medel, another of the old soldiers. Isla's little layoff, and these players have been around long enough to know about the fact that the knives are out back at home for the coach and for them as players a little bit as well, because if there's a change of coach, some of the players could go too. So that's the Chilean agenda. Again, Vidal finding that little pocket of space. It's a tough job for Michael Bradley in there tonight. Isla lays it out. Vidal was going through one or two of his trick routines before the kickoff, including a Rabona over the bar from 20 yards. Valdez thought he was fouled. The referee, who's from Jamaica, didn't. Danny on parchment, by the way, is the gentleman in charge. Omar Gonzalez plays his football these days in Mexico for Atlas. Brought up by Matt Miazga. It's a loose ball from Roldan, but Gonzalez was able to mop it up. It's Pulisic. Absolutely heartbroken, probably more than most, by the failure to go to the World Cup. He so wanted to play in it. As, well, he would have been one of the young talked about stars. Wasn't to be, of course. Bradley, lovely ball, that beautiful ball to Baird. Zardes is waiting in the middle. Here's Pulisic, he couldn't quite gather it in, but still maybe something. Areola standing one up to the back post. Here's Baird again. Peach of a pass from Bradley to set all that up.
It's the timing, too, of the run from Corey Baird. You know, so much of that has to be in sync, but you've got to have the ability to time your run, but also have a player with the ability of Michael Bradley to hit that first time.
There's Bradley again. Only Kobe Jones and Landon Donovan in history have won more caps than him. Roldan going down.
Just go back to this ball from Michael Bradley. Michael Bradley right now is having a conversation with Matt Miazga, but you've got to have your eyes just looking at that play. Corey Baird sets up his defender perfectly, checking to the ball, but it's the space in behind. I love the look from Corey Baird to try to find Pulisic, but so much of that is that first-time ball from that man right there, Michael Bradley. I don't think the question mark is whether or not Michael Bradley technically can play those kind of passes. I think at this level against this kind of opponent, if I'm at home watching this, I'm thinking, how many times do we see Michael Bradley get into tackles, put out some fires, look and break up the plays? That's the test, I think, for Michael Bradley tonight.
And he might have plenty of that kind of work to do at the other end as well. Pulisic with the free kick.
Keep an eye on Omar Gonzalez and Matt Miazga in between that penalty spot and the 6-yard box.
Instead, Castillo cuts it out, and the referee's seen something he didn't like and gives the free kick. ESPN's coverage brought to you by Volkswagen, presenting partner of US Soccer, and in part by Arby's. Arby's, we have the meats.
What kind of meats do we have?
Tell you later. Mine's well done. Picked up again by Zardes, who started the game very, very well. Vidal spreading the play towards Isla. Talk about the Chilean coach being under pressure, but he did take Ecuador to the World Cup, and before that Honduras in 2010, with a little help from the USA's Jonathan Bornstein, you might remember, on the final day of the Hex on that occasion. Pavez. Forward to Vidal, who keeps on finding little bits of space to try to cause trouble, as does Aaron Geese. Very cleverly done, those two quality operators. Aaron Geese, who plays for Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. Isla to fizz one inside. This time Aaron Geese doesn't quite manage to control it, and Baird does some good work. Sets up Adiola. Beds continue with his run. Here he is again into this inside left channel now. And a bright start took the eye in his first two caps against Panama and Costa Rica. Back in tonight. Coach likes him.
Well, there's two things with Corey Baird that you're going to notice immediately. Is one, we saw the touch from Michael Bradley playing in behind. His runs off the ball are always on point. But two, when the ball immediately turns over, he's very good at that initial press, and that's what impressed Greg Berhalter in the first two caps.
Former Stanford student like Jordan Morris, who's on the bench tonight.
I think at this level, Ian, and even in Major League Soccer with Mike Pecky and RSL, and Pecky's done a wonderful job with him. I think his final play, his final decision, if that improves, then at this level, he's going to have something to say within this group.
It's Castillo. Bradley quickly in. That's what you were talking about, Taylor. Biting in with a challenge. Yedlin's got a job to do with the header, and Baird was, well, thumped into from behind by Maripan, who knew what he was doing, I fancy, there. Just left something on him, didn't he?
Yeah, but it's a little thing, because at home, DeAndre Yedlin wins his first header, and Corey Baird makes a 2-yard run to get in front of his Chilean attacking player, right? See, right before this play, Corey Baird is actually 2 yards behind him. He comes in front. It's a little thing, but for a player that's inexperienced at the international level, you want to see those little things. That's a good spot from Corey Baird, providing that defensive cover.
And hopefully he'll find and prove to be a discovery for this team. There's a feeling, it's only a feeling, of the US just starting to turn a corner after, well, it was a wilderness period, no other way of putting it, really. There's the corner kick flicked on. I wondered whether Vidal was going to get a half volley in on the end of that for a moment. Aranguiz scored in the penalty shootout, Copa America Centenario against Argentina. Chile winning on penalties against the Argentines for the second final running, much to Lionel Messi's, well, heartbreak, really. Wanted to quit international football afterwards, didn't he, for a while. Bradley, not this time. Cut out by Vidal. They've got a lot of red shirts in there. They often play a little diamond in that part of the pitch. They've got men wide as well.
Talk about two midfielders that complement each other, though, Ian. Aranguiz and Vidal. Vidal's got the energy, he's got the ability, the range, and Aranguiz, while he doesn't have the same legs between the ears, he is just so smart and clever in the little spots right here that he can open up the game in 2 seconds with just where he picks up possession.
Yeah, and they know each other's games back
Absolutely.
to front as well. Valdez. Gary Medel. Wide to Isla. I think Vidal wanted that pass fizzed into him neck high. It's a bit of an accusing look, and Isla says to him, sorry, mate. Here's Opazo. What a start for him in the game, getting the equaliser. Diego Valdez of Santos Laguna. Good ball to pick out Isla's. Control was immaculate. Yedlin had come over to the other side here. Chile looking dangerous, and Valdez scoops it over the bar, but there's the threat again.
25 minutes in, and if you missed it, this game's opened up to a lively start with Christian Pulisic getting an early goal off a clearance from Ethan Horvath.
Had early goal for the US, ending a sequence where the last 5 they'd scored had been beyond the 80th minute of the game.
Yep.
Doing it the other way this time, and that goal Chile scored, the first conceded in the Greg Berhalter era. Isla not accurate enough.
Good spot
from him.
Areola. See, those are the things I'm talking about, Ian. I think defensively, Greg Berhalter will talk about it at halftime, but when the ball switches sides, I think you want either Roldan, Areola, and even at times Corey Baird. If you're a little bit more connected and make it a little bit more compact, then it's difficult to play through.
Look at the high press from Chile. It's won the ball back here. Vidal is in. Ream, big challenge. Didn't get the ball, but did enough to put Vidal off. But the US were caught out then by Chile and pressing them high up the pitch, and they looked a mess for a moment, got away with it. This is completely different to the Ecuador game. Areola to get it away. Sometimes for all the talk of being on the front foot and having a vision and wanting to be attractive, sometimes you just got to grind it out, particularly at this rather more exalted level. Isla to play it in.
Yeah, I think you've got to be pragmatic in those situations. You've got to recognize, you know what, we're under a little bit of pressure. There's absolutely no problem whatsoever playing this ball direct and pushing your line of confrontation into the Chilean defensive third. Right there, I think the United States got caught a couple times, Ian, trying to play out of the back, whether it's a goal kick, trying to play through Horvath, who at this level, distribution is still a huge question mark. I think at times they need to be a little bit more pragmatic.
It's only his 4th cap, the goalkeeper. Zach Steffen, probably established as the #1 now. Out with a minor injury for this one. Castillo did well there. He's trying to just lay that off to Vidal. A late challenge by Pavez will be penalised here. But another chance for Chile as Aranguiz picks up a card.
It's a late challenge, no question about it here. But Pavez comes in late, deserves a yellow. But listen, your spacing can be spread out. You can open the game up, but you're also putting your midfielders under some undue pressure, in my opinion. And there, Matt Miazga, there's no problem here. If you drive this ball 30, 40 yards into the channel and take your pressure off of your midfield. Also a good tackle here from Tim Ream, late on Vidal.
Massive. But he got back and did that. We'll check on that yellow card. I think it must have been for Pavez.
It was Pavez.
For the challenge, yeah. Aranguiz was having plenty to say about it afterwards, just to clear that up. Couldn't complain about the yellow, not really. Sometimes the referees just go a little bit easier because it's a friendly match, but you do that, you're giving the defenders a bit of a license, which they'll be all too quick to take advantage of. This is professional football. Ream winning the header. Now, you said the other night after the game, Taylor, you couldn't draw too many conclusions from their Ecuador game. Agree with that, but tonight we may be able to draw a few.
Yeah, I do think you could, obviously it wasn't a wasted exercise. You can still draw something out of it. And one of the things I drew out of the Ecuador game, Ian, is that maybe against that kind of opponent, Christian Pulisic may be better suited in a wide position. So when you go back to that Ecuador 11 in the first 45, what if Pulisic's playing where Jordan Morris is, and then you maybe bring in a Sebastian Lletget, a Christian Roldan, because the Ecuador game is a test for CONCACAF, but this is a test against higher competition, higher quality competition, and this is what you face at the World Cup and ultimately what you face in Copa America in the bigger games.
To that extent, it's a pity they haven't got Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie out there for this one.
But I do think so much of the talk is about Berhalter and his system and what he looks at that Tyler Adams in that role. I think if Tyler Adams is in the game today, I'm not sure he's playing it right back. I think against this kind of competition, one that plays very compact in the midfield, one that plays very narrow defensively, I think he's going to look at that right back position and play a normal one like Yedlin.
Here's Areola with Zardes in some space. He just was a heavy touch, in truth, from Areola there, which got him into trouble. Couldn't afford that, and the opportunity goes begging.
That's that second time, Ian, on that left side where that heavy touch, one Pulisic and the other one on Areola.
A lot of these players playing for Chile have played in 2 World Cups. They didn't make the latest one in 2018. They finished level on points with Peru in the qualification, but behind them, crucially, on the goal difference, and out they went. With the layoff to Maripan. This is football in Spain for Alaves. Jara's long ball to Isla, offside. Gonzalez, this new look defense tonight. Ream playing at left back, of course, as he did the other night, but he's a central defender at Fulham, where he was player of the year last year. Everyone's had a more difficult time this year. Now Pulisic, Areola, beautiful ball in that, and they're happy to give away the corner with Opaso, but that was a lovely move from the US.
And the
Great
whole move
ball.
started with Omar Gonzalez just clipping it over that initial pressure to get them out of that pressure. This ball right here, now it opens up the game. Now you got Roldan in a ton of space. You've got Zardes, you've got Pulisic. But this play, this move doesn't happen if Omar Gonzalez isn't playing you out of trouble. It's a good look and even better recognition from Christian Roldan to find that space. Good move there from the United States.
Yeah, they developed the attack quickly and were a bit unlucky. There wasn't an end product to that. Good game this so far. Action at both ends. Here comes the cross. Isla got a back header on it. Fell to Tim Ream. They're claiming a handball. Referee couldn't see it, I don't think. It's going to be a free kick now.
During our halftime, we're going to sit down with Greg Berhalter, and he's going to talk about when they're attacking, who's the most important player in his system. And right there, you saw that with Michael Bradley sitting about 20, 25 yards out. He's going to explain how he feels that the 3 players in front of his 2 center backs are the most important in this system he's trying to play. We'll see more of that at halftime, but right there is a good example of that.
Yeah, that's well worth sticking around for, by the way. So make your cup of coffee quick to catch that, because it's very much part of what Berhalter is about.
Coffee? It's 8:30, buddy.
Some people
Let's hope someone are having...
maybe something stronger, I don't know. I'm not getting into that. Oh, Ream, did he see Castillo there? Oh my goodness me, that was nearly a horror moment for Tim Ream and for the US
You know, I've called Tim Ream's games since the New York Red Bulls, and even at the international level, there is one moment every single game where you're left sitting there putting your hands up in the air and say, what is he thinking? Now, Tim Ream immediately saying there was no communication with players around him, but that's a dangerous ball that he can't look and just assume that Ethan Horvath is in an open position.
This is Pulisic down injured, by the way, at the moment. Got away with that one, the US really. Just a careless, switched off moment like that can cost a match, particularly at a World Cup. Doesn't look too happy down there. Christian Pulisic, just confirmation of that statistic about him being the youngest player in the United States history to get to 10 goals. He's also the youngest ever captain of the USA against Italy and the youngest ever scorer for the national team as well. Let's have a look at the 2 goals that have got us to this point, both in the first 9 minutes of the game. Pulisic first for the US.
Great first touch from Zardes. Great, better run from Pulisic, but that is all about Zardes turning the corner, but the United States couldn't get out of their own end, not dealing with the first, second clearance. And Apazzo with a little deflection, it looked like, off of either Matt Miazga, DeAndre Yedlin, that ends up in the back of the net, but I'm not sure Pulisic's going to continue.
No, I don't think he is. And that's a bit of a blow. Sebastian Lletget comes on. He's shaking his head. That'll be a worry for Dortmund because he's just got back in their team, and they've very, very soon, at the end of next week, got the big top of the table clash with Bayern Munich coming up.
Well, he made a late run. It was about 5-6 minutes, and he went and grabbed his right leg, and that looks like what they're addressing. But he initially grabbed his quad, and now that looks like it's even that knee, lower leg. You hate seeing that. Weston McKennie against Ecuador, and now Christian Pulisic. You hate seeing this.
Yeah, and it doesn't make the coach's job any easier when he has to have good relations with the clubs as well. 2 pretty key players picking up injuries.
But now, what a test for Sebastian Lletget. This is one of the worst spots as a player, because you're thinking, you know what, get through the first 45, then I go through my proper warm-up. Now Sebastian Lletget coming in. But Ian, I've told you numerous amount of times that Lletget's one of these players I want to see. In this kind of game, he's very comfortable playing between the lines, receiving ball under pressure, centrally, turning the corner. His injury killed the World Cup qualifying for the United States in 17.
Galaxy player, well known to the coach, and he's already scored in Berhalter's reign against Costa Rica. It's only his 9th cap tonight, and just as Taylor's been saying, he's got a big job out there. Massive blow for the US. Tell you something, the Chilean defenders will be glad to see the back of him. Nadel's long ball. Gonzalez trying to get his bearings, but it is offside against Nicolas Castillo. Hope really that that's just precautionary, that with Pulisic being taken off like that, they won't take any chances, of course, with a friendly, but we may be able to find out a little more. But as you said the other night, Taylor, we're not doctors.
See, that's part of this. The one thing I'm going to take away 38 minutes in, Ian.
Watch this, Vidal to play that in, and it's away by Miazga. Sorry to cut across you there,
completely
Taylor.
fine, dude. It's one team is very comfortable in what they're doing and how they're playing and what the style of play, and another one's a little uncomfortable because they're trying something new. We've seen some sloppy touches from the United States trying to play out of trouble.
Here's Lletget. Gets it away from Isla. Maybe just a little period of regrouping for the US here with the star player out of the game. Vidal to lay it off, Easter to play it through him again. Everything going through Arturo Vidal, just as you would expect. Opazo with the cross. Vidal looking to twist and volley. Couldn't keep it down, Vidal. But he's well capable of doing something kind of special. Winning his 107th cap for his country tonight. Sometimes called the Warrior or King Arthur, sometimes the Piranha. Whatever you want to call him, he's good. Harder. Isla. Aranqui's trying to find Vidal, and Omar Gonzalez having to recover. It's a tough baptism back into the team for Gonzalez tonight. Much, much tougher test than the defenders faced the other night. Vidal starting to look a threat here. Castillo and Horvath, no problems in the end.
You just get a sense, Ian, that Thursday night, the United States had all the possession. They wore down Ecuador. Tonight's completely different, and they're chasing shadows over the last 5-6 minutes. Now being on the other end of it, what a bad touch there from Zardes.
Just to underline the point you were making, and they could be in here. Looking to bend one to the far corner.
So Thursday night, the United States put all the pressure on Ecuador and wore them down. Tonight, it's the opposite. Chile's put all the pressure on the United States, and while they're still trying to stick to the game plan and try to play through pressure, they're also making some careless mistakes, and they're making the task tonight more difficult on themselves.
It's Diego Valdez with that carefully measured chance, kicking himself.
But see, right there's a good example, Ian. If your goalkeeper's going to take a goal kick, you can't have both center backs outside the width of the 18. There's nothing in the midfield because they were initially trying to play out of the back. Horvath has to recognize that situation. If he's going to play along, push the back line forward.
Well, Greg Berhalter was talking yesterday about coping with this high press that Chile play, and I'm not sure the US have coped that well with it, in truth. They're having increasing problems at the moment. Valdez and Opazo making another good run. There's Diego Valdez's ball out to Isla. Chile getting on top here. I think they need half time here, the US. Have another think about this. Started so well, but the tide at the moment is running in the opposite direction. Aliola wants a free kick. He's not got one from the referee. The US do have a throw-in. I think everyone looks a little mystified.
But there were a couple chances for the United States. Pulisic had a heavy touch. He was in one-on-one with the goalkeeper, and Ariola the same thing. But I would agree with you, and I think as a whole, the United States in these spots have they've been unsure of themselves, and they've been sloppy with the ball.
Pressured again. Ream keeps it in, but only for Medel. Grateful that Vidal's pass wasn't the best to that guard to play. It looked a bit like it. It's harder. Playing well now, Chile pushing the ball around, asking questions. I don't think Greg Berhalter will mind too much. You would hope that his team might be doing a little better in this phase of the game, but he's learning. He's learning what the team can do and how they may be able to improve against this kind of quality opposition. Ream, that's a better ball. Bradley, head up, looking to see what options. There are a few of them. Baird is the target. It's got to him too. That was a chance. And he didn't really get a significant kind of contact on it.
Second great look we've seen tonight from Michael Bradley. Initially he wanted to play Leggett into his feet, but he saw the better option in Corey Baird over the top. Good run, but a better look from Michael Bradley.
I think that's when he's happiest, isn't it, Michael Bradley? Picking passes from deep positions
Think
like
of
that.
how many great goals the United States have scored. It's come off of that ball. You and I were in Jacksonville in the last tune-up game before 14. Remember that ball to Josie Altidore over the top against Nigeria?
He had a sensational game on that particular occasion. He's been capped in each of the last 14 years. It's a remarkable record, that. Here's Baird. Let's go down to Sebastian Salazar for more on Christian Pulisic's injury.
Yeah, guys, not a doctor, but I can tell you what I saw. Just about 5 minutes before he came off, he was over on the sideline, pointed to what I thought was right knee, right quad area. He's got ice on that area right now. The official word from the bench is a right quadriceps injury. His removal, I'm told, was precautionary.
Well, that might be good news. Thanks very much, Seb. That's the best we can give you for the moment, till they have a proper look later.
And a frustrating 12 months for Christian Pulisic continues.
I think he was enjoying himself out there as well. Pavez having a good game in that central midfield area for Chile tonight, who are coming out with an improved display, basically trying to save their coach's skin.
But it's
So
been
we'll see.
Aranguiz, Ian, who's been so impressive. What a ball there.
Castillo, whose touch wasn't great really. Leggett, clever ball. Ariola. Sardes in the middle, Ariola. Can they get this right? Baird. Quick feet. Aranguiz quickly on the scene to put out the fire. That's half time. A very eventful start. Christian Pulisic, before his injury, scoring a lovely goal for the US, set up by Jassi Zardes. Chile biting back and scoring themselves in the 9th minute with a goal from their left back, his first for his country, Oscar Opazo. 1-1, beautifully poised. What did Greg Berhalter, the coach, make of that? He's down there with Seb now.
Coach, what are your key takeaways from the first half?
First of all, I think it's just the type of game that we need. Very physical game. Chile's doing a great job pressing. With their offensive shape, they're giving us a bunch of problems in our defensive shape. So I'm excited. We're going to talk about it at halftime. But I love the game. Good intensity.
Thanks for the time, Coach. Good luck in the second half.
Yep, thought he'd say something like that. Enjoying the challenge of it. It's a real challenge, and the second half could be absolutely fascinating. More about Berhalter when we get right back to you.